Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest weather. Watch today's January 30th, and right now we are looking at the infrared slash visible satellite imagery. You can see the sun rising across the Pacific Ocean. Check out the next beast of a storm here off the coastline. It's going to bring a potent frontal system for some portions here and continue some of the rainfall up across some of British Columbia here for the next few days. This low pressure center here is going to weaken and kind of sit and spin right off the coastline here. It's actually slowing down some of the arrival of the colder air across the interior areas as well. We'll look at the details here coming up in a moment. Taking a look at the Doppler radar overlay, you can see there is some light rain moving up across western Washington, and eventually another round is headed for Vancouver Island and British Columbia as well, where things have been quite warm aloft. A lot of snow has melted across the higher terrain. This has not been a good pattern for mountain snow across the Pacific Northwest. I saw some video from Whistler yesterday where it was just raining and it looked pretty miserable out there, and the snow looked not healthy. Let's just put it that way. And looking at the special weather statement again, this was put out this morning, Tuesday, January 30th, and still some of that rainfall and some of the flooding potential ongoing out there as well. And heavy rainfall in an already very saturated surfaces along with that snow melt can cause some of that flooding. Look at down towards in Oregon yesterday. I wanted to mention this. I forgot to yesterday, but the temperature record set on Sunday. Look at Eugene, 69 degrees. It just absolutely obliterated this record set back in 1976. And that's tied for the warmest temperature in January set back in 1914 and 1931. And here's Salem, 66, pretty much smashing that record set back in 1920. And this is the southern Oregon here. This frontal system rolls into California, some portions of Oregon. There's some big winds here coming, and you can see gusts 50 to 70 miles per hour here. The high wind warning here is kind of in the orange, and the wind advisories are elsewhere where you're expecting lesser gusts, let's put it that way. And you can see some of the Oregon coast getting pretty rowdy here as well with some powerful winds, and we could get some power outages also. And that's going to be rolling in tonight. I'll show you some of the weather models on that here in a moment. And just a heads up, if you're traveling back and forth across the Oregon-California border, you could run into some wintry weather here, mainly down across some of Mount Shasta here, southern Siskiyou County. So just a heads up for that if you're out and about traveling. Looking at the daily 2-meter max temperature on the National Blended Models, you can see another pretty warm day today. I mean, we're well up into the 50s all the way through southern BC and across western Washington, 60s for southern Oregon, in advance of that next system rolling in here. And as we go through tomorrow, a little bit of a drop down, something a little bit more here on Thursday. Then we start to go through that kind of that pattern change upcoming here. Not as dramatic as what the models were saying a couple days ago. But you can see we're definitely going to be bringing those temperatures down from the low 60s back down into the 40s for many areas. And look at Seattle. So yesterday and the day before, 61 degrees, both record highs. So we're going to have that to remember. This little atmospheric river activity, you can see the observed low only down to 51 degrees. It's almost like a chilly June day out there for the most part. Pretty interesting stuff. And now this is looking at the European hot off the presses here. There's our big low pressure center there, and you can see that light rain moving up across the area. Then the strong frontal system starts to move across Oregon. Again, another bout of rainfall here for Vancouver Island. You can see none of this falling as snow in the most recent year. And this is across the highest terrain of British Columbia as we go through tomorrow morning. But you can see that's going to bring a rainy period here as we go through the day tomorrow. Frontal system mainly moving into California there. And this low pressure center is just kind of meandering and weakening right off the coastline here, and it's keeping some warmer air aloft around here as well. So we're not really going to be building up too much snow as we go towards the end of the week here across the higher terrain. As you can see, that kind of meanders and weakens and fills and then drops down the coastline to meet up with another storm that's going to impact California. And some of this precip may bring some snow across some of the higher terrain of Oregon and some precip up towards Washington as we go on into early next week. We'll continue to watch that one. The confidence of that is not that high right now. Taking a look at Quilly, you can see some gusty conditions here. And again, this is starting mainly very early tomorrow morning. As you can see, some gusts into the 40s. Nothing too wild. But if you go down further on the Oregon coastline, look at Gold Beach there, 59 miles per hour, the latest control. Some of these ensembles are up over 60 miles per hour. So heads up for that. It's going to be moving in again tonight into tomorrow morning. Some big gusts associated with this storm. And look at Siskiyou Summit. So if you're out driving around, especially in the backcountry and the higher terrain, look at that. I think, is that 68 miles per hour there on the control? I can't quite read that, but you can clearly see the very strong winds there. The mean up over 60 miles per hour. Crater Lake as well. Big wind gusts out there, probably up over 50 miles per hour. Now, taking a look at the 100-meter wind speed. So you got BC, Washington, and Oregon. If I put this into motion, you'll see that frontal system bringing those very strong winds to southern Oregon. And this, it's blustery along the coastal areas here and a little bit stronger across Vancouver Island. And that front is kind of falling apart as we go on in through the day. Wednesday, that low pressure center will be filling and kind of sitting there and spinning. Multiple impulses here back up over the area as we go on, probably into Saturday morning before that precip really gets cut off, and then you can see that weaken and drop off to the south there and maybe kind of merging with that next storm into California. Taking a look at the maximum individual wave height here, so you can imagine that 961 millibar low that's going to be rolling around out there over the next couple of days is really kicking up some wave heights. So we're going to have some increased wave action all the way from southern Alaska all the way down towards British Columbia, Washington, and California here over the next few days, as you can see. And then finally we start to get a break here as we go towards the end of the weekend. Now, looking at total precipitation in inches, we got British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. If I put this into motion, you can see that precip as we go on in through tonight. It's going to pick up here, especially across Vancouver Island and some of the Oregon coastal areas, some of the Olympic Mountains, and some of the higher terrain will be doing better versus Seattle and Portland and the Willamette Valley, for example. And as we scroll off into tomorrow, you can see some of that precipitation just continuing across British Columbia, man. That really doing a number on the snowpack there. It's a shame, and it's not looking great off to the extended, which I'm going to show you here in a minute as far as rebuilding that snowpack. I'm taking a look here at snow depth in centimeters on the latest GFS. So this has been showing it pretty well. So if we scroll through here, you can still see we're still reducing that snow across the higher terrain of Vancouver Island. I mean, really reducing it big time and not doing great for the lower elevations across British Columbia here. And if we scroll off into the future, you start getting towards the weekend here and you start looking for signs that maybe we're going to be adding some of that snowfall. I mean, there's going to be some at times, but no big snowmaker in sight all the way through 200 hours on the GFS there. And we scroll way out towards 300 hours and maybe some kind of a system rolls through. But again, no big snow signal there. Not good for the higher terrain. This is like an 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. You can see British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon there. And of course, our atmospheric river's been pumping this very warm air up across the region. And that's going to continue here as we go on in through tonight into tomorrow. You can see the above average temperatures again at 5,000 feet, and that frontal system starts ushering in some cooler air. But you notice it's taking its sweet time. We're now into Saturday morning and still not getting that crash and those temperatures really across British Columbia here. I mean, we get a little bit of a cool down coming as we go through the weekend, but not much here. It's not a good signal here, folks. I don't know how else to put it. So hopefully something changes here as we go through the extended forecast, because California is going to be kind of targeted here over the next few days with those storms. Here's an 8 to 14 day temperature, just slightly for a slight percentage for below average conditions here across some of the Pacific Northwest, kind of targeting the Southwest there. 8 to 14 day, you're going to see that below average precipitation encroaching on the Pacific Northwest as we go on in through February 12th. Here's the 3 to 4 week temperature outlook, actually 3 to 4 weeks. So this was issued a couple days ago, and I forgot to mention this. You can see the above average conditions as we go through mid-February here as we approach the end of the month, and kind of that signal there for some below average precip and kind of that El Nino signature here across some of Southern California and through the Southwest in towards Texas. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, click on that link down below to save 10% off. All solar powered and wireless lightning detection system with it. Ultrasonic anemometer, very fun station. Check it out on your smartphone wherever you go, and it stores all the data for you in the cloud. So anyway, click on that link down below if you want to save 10% off on that. And so here we go. A nice looking storm system off the coastline here. And this is going to be with us for a while, as I showed you, and it's going to weaken up the coastline. And I was hoping we'd get a little bit more cold air here and we'd start to rebuild that snow as we go towards the weekend here. But I mean, the highest train's going to get some, but it's not a good bounce back. As you saw, we've just been decimating things. And if you've been off in the backcountry here, you know how it's been going. I mean, a buddy on Twitter showed me some of that footage for Whistler, and it was not good. The streams were kind of swollen. The snowpack looked really meager up there, and it was just plain straight rain here. So anyway, I wish I had better news on that front here, but we'll continue to watch it here. Things can still change as we go through the extended forecast. We'll see how that trends as we go over the next few days as well. So anyway, I'm going to do a live stream on the California channel tonight as well. You can see a powerful frontal system is set to impact the state of California. We're going to go over that, and we're going to go over some of the newest model data run here as this storm system out here looks like it might wallop California as well. So join me on the California channel if you would like tonight. Otherwise, we'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.